morning. With this video, I will demonstrate the use of the Windows Transitrace software running in Auto Mode, which is the mode that merely sits and records everything it sees, captures it in a log in some various forms. As you can see on the screen, I have begun WTT in a plain mode, and as is usual, the category is entered to define with an X. I'm going to again use an F2A category. As you can see, I brought that up, and now I intend to go into the auto mode. Now in auto mode, the system merely sits and watches, and in the Windows version it records and plots the data. What I intend to do is run my simulator that we discussed yesterday, and it will be emitting sensor impulses. I have unhooked the handle switch from the timer box, so all it's seeing are the timer sensor pulses that are coming from the simulator, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to start sending some data, and in particular I'm going to use the flight of Alex Valashev as a source of timer impulses. Again, as usual, it takes about 30 seconds for Alex's flight to begin, but when it does, you will start to see the timer pulses coming into the system. Notice that it also says to press the handle judge switch and release to start an attempt. If during execution of the auto run software you wish to actually run an official attempt, it will do so. It doesn't record any names or attempt and round numbers. It just records the data, but it also records when the handle goes in the pylon, as indicated by the handle judge switch, and when it comes out. As you can see, the timer pulses are arriving from Alex's flight and being plotted. Now, when his flight is complete and the system senses that nothing is happening, it will wait approximately 20 seconds, and then it will rescale the plot to show the scale being the last 30 or so timer pulses. Okay, you can see it rescaled. Now, it's just sitting here waiting, and if in fact another flight comes up sometime later, it will start doing it. I will start now another flight. I'm going to start one that's rather interesting, because this is one you haven't seen yet, and this was Carl Dodge's flight. Carl was the world champion in 2014 with this flight. It was a very interesting flight because it actually took 2 landings and adjustments before Carl finally got a setting that he was happy with. The timing of the official flight started with just a few seconds left in the 3-minute countdown, but according to the FAI rules, that means the flight is valid and continues until it completes. Using that flight in auto mode means there are several pieces of the flight, and in between them Carl has landed, and of course in auto run that's normal for a flight to go on with laps being sent and stops and more laps and so forth. As you can see, the first few laps that Carl flew were rather slow, and he landed. The other thing to keep in mind is that because the sensor is sitting by the edge of the circle, it is not uncommon for the pitmen to be moving around, and if they start walking in front of the sensor will sense their presence and will send signals to the timer box. The software is written in its normal operating mode to ignore extraneous events, events that occur too rapidly, which I think Autorun calls butterfly events or something like that. And you can see them happen here because all of a sudden you will see a great deal of time elapse and then an event come in that was obviously something happened. Somebody walked in front of the sensor. Now, as you can see, Carl's flight was up. He flew 10 or 12 laps, didn't like it, landed, and is now on the ground being serviced by Billy and Alex in this particular flight. Bill and Alex always carry a second dolly with them, so if they have to restart a flight, they use the second dolly. They don't have to retrieve the first one. It saves a whole bunch of time, and that's what they're in the process of doing. I think, as it turns out, they may have done this actually twice in this particular flight. We'll see as it happens. Now, believe it or not, those lap speeds are in fact being plotted, but because the scale of the plot is 260 as the bottom end based on the previous execution, the times all go off the bottom. Okay, here comes Carl's second shot, and in fact it almost looks like maybe this is in fact the end of his official flight. Yes, as you can see, it's going well over 300, and it goes off the top, and when his flight is over with, 20 seconds or so later, the scale will be adjusted on the plot to reflect the maximum time of the last 30 or so laps that it has seen. Now, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and start yet another example. I think what I'll do is throw Billy Hughes's flight in that shows the missed lap in the middle and so forth that you recall from yesterday. Okay, now you can see the plot has been rescaled to show the actual flight time of Carl's flight. As you can see, it started out in the high 290s and was almost and accelerating so that the last 3 or 4 laps were well over 302. Carl's official record, not record, but world champs winning time was a 302.2, I believe. Now, I have started yet another flight, and it will take a few seconds for this flight to start sending timer pulses. This is typical in an Autorun mode, that it'll sit there for minutes at a time with nothing happening, and then it will start recording the airplane flight again. And as you can see now, this is the flight coming in and starting up, going up relatively high, and pretty soon you'll see a missed lap right there. There's the missed lap, 100, and went about half of what the other flights times are going to be. Now, of course, in the Autorun mode, this is just information. It is not an attempt, and as such, there's no insert, so forth and so on. If at any time you wish to retain a picture of this, you can again use the Control P, and a screen image will be saved in the screen images directory. Now, the one thing that is interesting here is that if, while you're in Autorun, you wish to have the judge make an actual attempt with handle and pylon indications and so forth, this can be done by starting an attempt. What I'm going to do is reinstall the handle into the system, and then I'm going to run let's go ahead and run Alex's flight again. Now, when I start the simulator running, the first thing it does is it sends a handle, judge, switch, release, press and release. In normal Autorun mode, that is not happening, but in this case, we're actually going to say, okay, we're going to run a real attempt. So here it comes. And you notice it immediately kicks over to the same code that was running in the contest mode. But you notice there's no competitor number, nor round, nor attempt number set. At the end, we will have the ability to enter a comment where we can put information in. But it is suggested, and always has been, that when you're in this mode, what you do is you keep paper records separately, indicating, say, perhaps the start time and who the flyer was, so that you can then rationalize that information with the system logs after the fact, keeping track of attempt times and so forth. As you can see, Alex's flight is progressing as we saw in yesterday's video. Timing end. He has a complete flight. He is now landed. We're waiting, and then landed. Landed 4, 3. We can see the countdown going down, and there it jumps over into the next segment, the actual results page. Now at this point I can put a comment in. Let's do that. We didn't do it yesterday. I'm going to enter a C, and it says, I'm going to say Alex Valashev demo. That's the comment. And what that does is it just puts that in the log file along with the information of the flight itself. And now when I type an N, I can go back to the Autorun mode. Well, again, notice that the console bar is in this single key entry mode. If I wish to, I can look at the logs, and we'll take a look at the log, and it will show us. First of all, this is all of the sensor data that occurred that we saw earlier, and then, here is the official flight, and you will notice that here is the comment. Alex Valashev demo appears in that log, and again the same results, 294.8 and so forth. If at any time you're finished with Autorun, again, we've got the M for the main menu. We can go back and do the Q, and then you can see over in the Transitrace demo screen the program has completed.